Hello, folks, and welcome back to the Culture Books podcast. My name is John, and I'm joined, as usual, by
Sheridan.
Okay, and this is being recorded on the 3rd of August, 2026. We have got some things to say about Elon Musk's interview with The Economist, where he mentioned the culture, but we'll put that at the end of the episode. So if you just want to hear us talking about the next chapter in the book, then you can just turn off when we get to that point. So we are tackling the State of the Art, Chapter 4. This is our 5th episode from the State of the Art, though, because we covered the short story A Gift from the Culture before we started the novella A State of the Art. They're a bit like with use of weapons. There's no good way to tackle the numbering. You've just got to pick one and accept the limitations of it. Okay, so with that out of the way, Sheridan, what happens in the show now?
So now you do a 30-second update or summary of where we are so far in this book.
Okay, all right.
3, 2, 1, go.
So the culture is a galaxy-spanning hyper-civilization, and they are visiting Earth in this book, and they have sent their agents down to infiltrate our society, a bit like in the series Sugar, but not entirely. They are making their judgments as to whether they should intervene with Earth or not. And we have met Linter, who is thinking about whether he wants to stay. And that's my time.
Now you've reminded me, have we spoken about Sugar?
No.
Maybe we do that at the end as well.
Sure. Okay, we'll talk more about Sugar once we get through this book. I don't know if I have a lot to say about Sugar.
Me neither, but
I know culture fans are excited about it, so we'll talk about it at the end. Okay. Now, Sheridan, this is where you have 30 seconds to tell us all about what happened in this chapter, which the chapter is called Heresiarch, by the way.
No, it's not. It's called Minority Report.
No, chapter 4, Heresiarch. 4.1 Minority Report.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I missed that. I was like, oh my God, have I read the wrong chapter? Charlie's going to be so mad at me for delaying it again.
No. So Heresiarch is the overarching name of the chapter, which is another one of Banks's things where he pulls into ancient Greek to find weird words that have resonance in English but not clear knowledge. Anyway, a Heresiarch is the leader of a heresy.
Right.
We shall discuss who the Heresiarch is through this. But in the meantime, Sheridan, if you could tell us what happens in this chapter in 3, 2, 1.
We start off with some banter with the contact members who are stationed on Earth. They're a bit sort of boorish in some ways, but anyway, I'll get into that later. Then Smar meets up with Linter again, and he's nutted himself.
He muted himself.
He's unmuted himself. Sorry, I'll explain that Australian phrase soon. And he is like pretty happy, but Smar sort of doesn't get it. Sorry, I put too many jokes in there.
All right,
so Smar doesn't really get it, but she goes back to the ship, and the ship sort of explains it to her, and then we end with some more boorish banter with the contact members.
Fair enough. We're going to have to talk a lot about Lee's behaviour in this because it made me very uncomfortable, and I believe it's meant to make you very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So if you can hear clanking pots in the background, it is the young puppy Banks making a pest of himself. Anyway, okay, so 4.1, subtitle Minority Report. It's okay, Sheridan, you're in the right chapter.
Also written before the Tom Cruise Minority Report movie.
But after the Philip K. Dick Minority Report short story that the Tom Cruise movie was based on.
Okay. I thought there might be more to it.
Yeah, but I mean, a Minority Report is not a thing that was invented by either Philip K. Dick or Tom Cruise. You frequently get committees having a Minority Report written by the dissenting group.
Oh, I don't know if I've ever thought about it being called Minority Report. I call it a dissenting report. But anyway, I've come from a legal background, so.
That's a dissenting judgment.
Yeah.
But in committees, I believe it's quite normal to call it the Minority Report. I think.
You're right.
So we've got Smart trying to explain to her colleagues what happened while they're all hanging out basically in a hot tub.
I sort of imagine more like a pool.
Well, yeah, but so they're floating in anti-gravity after a dip in the ship's pool, which is, about as luxurious as any of us can hope for.
I know, they're all insufferable. They're just like, I just think they just live. Anyway, I'll talk more about it. They don't have any suffering.
I felt a lot of. They literally talk about their lack of suffering at some length.
Yeah. Finally, though, because I've been saying this the whole time.
I did think there was a touch of the university refectory to the level of debate.
Yes.
In this.
That's what I mean. It was a bit boorish.
Yeah. Well, and then but you've got Lee, who is in our society committing acts of sexual harassment.
Yes.
Now, I can see an argument that in the culture where there is no threat at all that he could force himself on anyone, it's it's less threatening.
Yeah.
But he's definitely being foreshadowed as an absolute creep by his sexual harassment.
Yes.
Yeah. And he's meant to be unlikable. I feel. Anyway, so I'll pick up with a bit here with nonsense, Lee said, and flicked a blob of water at Rogres. What I'm talking about is this. Most memorials are like pricks, cenotaphs, columns. That monument Smar saw is a cunt. It's even in a divide of the river, very pubic. From this and Smar's overall attitude, it's obvious that Smar is subliminating her sexuality in all this contact nonsense. Now, he's talking about the memorial to the deportation on the Ile de Cite in Paris, which I have checked is still there. We just missed it when we were there.
I mean, you do tend to miss things in Paris.
Yeah, there's a lot to see in Paris. And again, this is the sort of thing that young people in university refectories hold forth about all the time and feel they're being original. And I guess to some people, sometimes they are. Just skipping ahead a little bit. But I would say, Lee continued, that it's better not to sublimate everything. If what you want is a good screw, Lee used the English word, then a good screw is what you ought to have, not a meaningful confrontation with a backwater rockball infested with slavering death zealots on a terminal power trip. I still say it's you who wants the good screw, Rogres said. I mean, again, university refectories, there are no end of sexually fixated young blokes making pests of themselves.
I think they've stamped a lot of that out, but it still exists.
I have no doubt. But yeah, I mean, you can also go to music festivals and see pretty similar behaviour from...
I don't know, I went to a music festival recently and I'd have to say they were very well behaved. It was quite surprising, but anyway, I digress.
But they were not bringing their most committed game in the presence of...
the oldies?
You and your sister were and the real trouble starts at the after parties as well. But yeah. And there was this line that I liked just as a depiction of what too many people think. There's natural and natural, Lee said. I'm naturally civilized and they're naturally barbarians. Therefore, I should be as natural as possible and they should do all they can not to be.
Isn't there a moment later in the chapter, though, or is it in the same section, where she talks about, or someone talks about humans, and when I say humans, I obviously mean the earthlings, that they make the most sort of barbaric aspects of our society seem natural, and they refer to racism, that it's just natural to, hate black people, or... Was that in a separate section? That is definitely in the chapter, though.
It might be.
It might be Linter says it. I didn't pick up the connection between the two.
Yeah, but I mean, there's always... Everywhere you go, there's people saying, I should be more like me, but everyone else should be less like themselves.
Yeah.
And we often put the veneer of our perceived level of civilization as a justification for why we should be more like ourselves and other people should be less like them. And it's almost always garbage. But it's, an author is allowed to put a terrible point of view in a book, particularly when he's clearly marked as being spoken by a terrible person.
Yeah, it is later. It's with Linter.
Okay.
I hadn't picked up that use of the word natural in that part of the chapter because it does come back.
Now, the other characters do start pointing out that Lee's horniness, is the word used, is unpleasant, which is good. But you do get the whole, paradox of tolerance going on with, if you're tolerant, how much bad behaviour do you tolerate?
I mean, this is the closest that we've come to the culture suffering, is having to deal with this dude.
Yes. Or having to tolerate him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and at what point do you ostracise him or put him with a slap drone? And obviously, if he were to ever try and force himself on someone, the ship would come down on him like a ton of bricks in a picosecond.
Yeah.
There's a point with this here, smart here, but there's a point where interest becomes obsession, and I think most people regard obsession as a bad thing because it makes for less variety, less flexibility. Now, I would say there's many, many other things that are wrong with obsession than a lack of variety. But it's an interesting point from a culture point of view that it's just boring.
Mm.
But it's like there's the same thing. And I know women get this much, much worse. If every time you see a person, they're trying to crack onto you and get into your pants, it's extremely dull.
I mean, I guess this is where, and look, this is because, I haven't loved that the culture has come into sort of our world, about this novella.
Yeah.
But this is where it probably does have a lot of strength, this writing, because it does directly make you go, well, what is bad about being a human? What's good? Because I think their life is boring. I think culture existence is boring.
Well, it's only as boring as they choose to make it be. They're able to do incredibly exciting things all the time.
There's no game in any of it. There's no stakes. There's no stakes in any of it.
That's why you join Contact and go and intervene in alien civilization.
But there's no stakes for you in that. There's no stakes for the Contact officer.
Yeah, sometimes they get their heads hacked off, but there are still risks.
True.
Mm. Lee's response to that, though, is, I'll just say one thing. It's an obsession with flexibility and variety that makes this so-called culture so boring. And then, Lee started a boredom society while you're away, Tagham explained, smiling at me. Nobody else joined, though. It's going very well, Lee confirmed. I've changed the title to the Inui League, by the way. Yes, boredom is an underrated facet of existence in our pseudo-civilization. While at first I thought it might be interesting in a boring sense for people to be together when they were extremely bored, I realise now that it is profoundly moving and deeply average experience to do nothing whatsoever entirely and completely by yourself. Now, there is an argument that, say, when and there's a bit of an age gap between us, but our youth was roughly in the same pre-internet era. Dealing with boredom and the stupid things we do when we're extremely bored as young people is something that just doesn't exist anymore.
Well, I mean, if I was bored, I'd probably read this book faster.
Yeah, sure, but today, any human being who's got a mobile phone can read every book that's ever existed, can listen to every music that's ever been recorded.
Instead, they just scroll through Instagram.
They just scroll through Instagram and listen to us. Well, some of you. Quickly, I just do want to note our last episode was the very first one where we got 200 listeners in the first week.
Oh.
So thank you, growing tribe. It would actually be uncomfortable if we tried to all meet in a pub. But one day we'll try. Okay, anyway, I thought that description of boredom, and I do remember a friend of mine who was very attractive when she was a young woman once said to me, being bored was responsible for most of my sexual encounters as a young woman. And
I don't know what being attractive has to...
Well, it's just she had options, but she by her own admission she'll say she took a lot of bad options just because she was bored, and someone making an offer was better than staring at a wall. Having said that, we still had television, radio, and books, but not the same absolute infinite variety.
We didn't have the continual dopamine injection that we've got now.
No. Yeah, and obviously now that we're overstimulated, I don't know, that's an interesting point too. Anyway, it's an interesting argument there about the nature of boredom. And then remember, the thing with Lee is that because he's a too far away from baseline human in his appearance, he's covered in fur. He can't go down to the surface, so he's kind of missing out while everyone else on the ship's having...
Why can't he just get augmented?
apparently would be too great an intervention, that more of an intervention than he's willing to do either.
Right.
Anyway, I mean, yeah, if you can get turned into a dolphin, you can get turned into a human. But anyway, he's missing out when everyone else is having adventures. And then he's saying, what is the point of a planet where you can hardly set foot without tripping over somebody, killing somebody else, or painting something, or making music, or pushing back the frontier of science, or being tortured, or killing themselves, or dying in a car crash, or hiding from the police, or suffering from some absurd disease, or... And this is the kind of thing that if you're looking at a planet from orbit, you'd be like, wow, everyone's murdering each other all the time. If you're looking at the next town over, you'd be like, wow, their crime rate's really high. But for most of us, most of the time, we're just walking in the park around our houses. You know, it's never as interesting or exciting as it seems. You've got to hunt out trouble.
Yeah.
Normally. And then a response from Smart. Anyway, I said as we passed, how does all this make it boring? Surely there's so much going on. Then Lee, that it's deeply boring. An excess of boringness does not make a thing interesting except in the driest academic sense. A place is not boring if you have to look really hard for something which is interesting. If there is absolutely nothing interesting about any particular place, then that is a perfectly interesting and quintessentially unboring place. Oh, yeah, we're really getting into sucking on the bong in the dorm room, aren't we?
Yeah, I must admit, I was like, oh, this guy.
I mean, the other thing with Lee is that he's lurching into sophistry,
What's sophistry?
Sophos was a character in Plato's dialogues, and sort of like the archetype of a lawyer where he's always making clever points that don't actually help anyone or advance anything.
The use of clever but false arguments, especially with the intention of deceiving.
Not too far away from what I said.
Not quite on point though. But
I was about to say I wasn't quite on point.
Not meaning to neg you or anything.
It's been a long time since I did philosophy at university. Well over a quarter of a century.
It's all right. We'll let you pass on that one.
And then Smar replying, but Earth, let me get this right. Earth, where everything's happening, is so full of interesting things that it's boring. I squinted at Lee. Is that what you mean? Something like that. You're crazy. You're boring. Yes. Okay. Anyway, we're now on to 4.2 Happy Idiot Talk.
That's not what it's called, is it? Huh. Okay. Is this where Linter comes in?
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't realise. I didn't read the title. Obviously, didn't read the titles very well. This stuff.
So I'm assuming Linter is the happy idiot.
Interesting.
Anyway, so the ship has convinced Smar to go and talk to Linter again. And there is this lovely little line here. There's nothing more slippery in the galaxy than a GCU being cagey. So a straight-out answer was out of the question, but draw your own conclusions. And there's a little footnote here where the drone is saying, I think there's jars abominably, but herself disagrees. Just the poor drones being the transcript.
There's a lot of footnotes in the first bit.
And then we get the fact that everyone on the ship's watching Star Trek, which I like.
Yeah.
And there's going to be lots more Star Trek stuff as the book goes on.
Oh, is there?
Yeah. There is even this chapter.
There is in this chapter, but
Yeah.
I didn't know it would continue.
Yeah.
It might surprise our listeners to know that I've never watched Star Trek.
You've never watched any Star Trek?
Look, I would have watched Star Trek at some point, but I've never got into, I've never watched multiple episodes from a season.
Well, I mean, there's never been a season of Star Trek that didn't have a lot of dud episodes. And it's generally the great episodes.
It's possible I've never watched a full episode.
Yeah, right. Okay.
I think I've watched, there's movies, right?
Yeah.
I think I've watched the movies.
Yeah.
Anyway, obviously the premise of this podcast is I'm not a sci-fi fan.
Yeah. No, it's okay to
So,
I
I haven't even done the base level.
Yeah. Consider Phoebus is on the record that Ian Banks was trying to write a novel that was more Star Wars than Star Wars. From that, he kept sort of reiterating the culture. But Star Trek, the utopianism of Star Trek is clearly an influence as well. And obviously he's literally referencing it here. But, and then a bit of editorializing from Smar here. I have yet to meet a ship, and I don't think I'd like to meet a ship, that didn't take far more pride in its mental abilities than its physical power. And for the ship to kidnap Linter would be an admission that it hadn't the wit to outthink the man. No doubt it would make the best job possible of justifying such an act if it did do it, or would certainly get away with it. No quorum of other contact minds would offer it the choice of exile or restructuring, but boy would it lose face. GCUs can be bitchy as hell, and the arbitrary would be the laughing stock of the contact fleet for months minimum. So it comes back to this thing where in the culture your reputation is the only real currency that you have.
Yeah, and look, I don't want to get into the Elon Musk discussion yet, but this quote from the book it's very AI. Like AI is all about there is now no longer any or as much power in physical ability, where humankind has really, until the Industrial Revolution, but even afterwards, valued physical prowess. We still do.
We still do. I would argue that the takeover of Christianity in Europe in general, was because they brought a literate class of scribes in the clergy, literally the clergy clerics. So suddenly rulers could know on a piece of paper how many spears they had in the barn.
I'm not saying we didn't give any value to mental ability. I'm not saying that. But
it's accelerating in its importance.
Yeah. And with AI, it becomes physical ability becomes completely irrelevant once the robots can do the thing.
The robots still are vulnerable to having their off switch punched.
But this feels like AI, where they're saying that is why the minds are so powerful. It's totally their intellectual ability.
Yes, and saying even though these ships are incredibly physically powerful, they value their mental prowess more.
Yeah.
I would also say let's remember that the nerds who are creating the AI revolution have also all read these books.
I know.
So it's feeding back through itself in a way that might not, because, I mean, to quote Cersei Lannister, power is power.
It's a good point.
And I believe it was Ben Elton who wrote that, in a fist fight, Sylvester Stallone could beat the crap out of Albert Einstein. But, that's not to say he's better than Albert Einstein.
Yeah.
And then we've got Smar talking to the ship, and Smar suggesting, the ship's suggesting, maybe I can just, drop a nuke on Linter's hospital and everything will be fine. And Smar says, be serious. Oh, I'm being serious. What's one more meaningless act of violence on that zoo of a planet? It would be appropriate. When in Rome, burn it. And then Smar getting very upset, saying, are you really serious? And the ship's saying, no, I'm joshing with you.
This is a funny thing. This is funny here, though, because it is almost, you do actually question whether they have real morals. Like whether the culture has any real morality.
Mm-hmm.
Because I actually think they are willing to drop nukes and go, well, actually, we're just covering up that we were trying to, covering up a contact agent.
I think the point that the ship's making is that it can do its cover-ups without needing to drop nuclear weapons on innocent civilians.
But I think they would. I think they would drop nuclear weapons on innocent civilians.
Would they? Because, I mean, in Consider Phlebas, they went to enormous efforts to evacuate the Vavitch orbital before they destroyed it.
I'm not saying that they don't go to some effort, but aren't there instances of where they take action where it causes death for their own ends?
I mean, they're interventions, but they must be able to justify it to other minds in the culture, and some of those minds can be quite hostile, that their intervention was on balance the lesser of the possible evils.
I know, and I just think that sometimes there's a sort of lack of real ethical
reasoning, and sometimes it's just about what benefits them.
Well, the next book is Succession, and boy, have you got a lot of ethical reasoning ahead of you.
I mean, I do actually find, ethical decision making a very interesting concept. It's in a work context mostly, but.
Okay. And then there's a funny little aside here, which is no more than just a funny little aside. Also, while I'd been away, the ship had sent a request on a postcard to the BBC's World Service asking for Mr. David Bowie's Space Oddity for the good ship Arbitrary and all who sail in her. This from a machine that could have swamped the Earth's entire electromagnetic spectrum with whatever the hell it wanted from somewhere beyond Beetlejuice. It didn't get the request played. The ship thought this was hilarious.
That was funny.
Okay. Thank you. Sheridan, tick of approval. We get this conversation with Gibbard and Smar here, and Gibbard, I feel like, is really sucking on the bong hard here. I think it's because we don't mature the way they do. I mean, the females have periods, and the men have this machismo thing because they've got to do all the things they're supposed to do, and so we don't. I mean, we don't have things they do. What I mean is that there are all sorts of things that do things to them, and we don't have that. We don't have them, and so we don't get ground down the way they do. I think that's the secret. Pressures and knocks and disappointments. I think that's what somebody said to me. But I mean, it's so unfair, but I don't know who for yet. I haven't worked that out,
I mean, that whole quote that encapsulated what I had been thinking the whole time reading these books, is this is what separates them from us, is they don't suffer. So I don't know how you evolve without suffering.
Well, the thing is, they live in an attention economy where they all want to be more famous and notorious in their peer groups than everyone else. So most of them
You think that's what the culture is driving them to be?
Yeah.
You think that's what's driving them to be infamous?
Well, not infamous, to be famous. Well, the ones who want to be famous, some of them just want to sit in a perfect garden that they've created.
Well, you think, so that's not driving all of them.
No. It's a major driver, though. I mean, Gergely wants to be the most famous, best game player in the culture and player of games.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, and then when the drone tricks him into cheating in that game, he's facing a reputational obliteration, and that worries him more than anything that the Zadians could do to him.
True. I just think there is the lack of suffering is the distinction between them and us.
Yeah, well, I mean, literally, we've got Gibbard, bonging away on this point here. And look, Banks has obviously written this to sound like undergrads at university sucking on a bong. It's meant to be taken that way. All the ellipses and and semicolons.
I think it makes them sad, though.
You think they're sad sitting on their spaceship, dropping down anywhere they want to go on Earth with all the resources they could possibly want at any given time?
Well, yeah, I actually do. I think that is sad in a way.
Having the BBC knock back their request to play Space Oddity?
I mean, I guess, and look, it's obviously going to get into I feel like I keep saying the Elon discussion, which, it's just so front of mind, but this sort of future reality where everything's going to be done for us by this AI, and we will fuck it up because we're not going to redistribute capital.
Look, it's possible that a billionaire is listening to this podcast, but unlikely. So definitely you and me and 99.9% of people who listen to this are not going to be in the high-income future that Elon's envisaging. We're going to be liquidated.
Yeah, but even if, would you want to be one of them though? If you,
I
if
wouldn't want to be in Elon's
there's-
shallow vision of the future. But okay, let's park Elon till the end.
True. But I'm just but to keep on this point though, would you really want to not have barriers and things preventing you? Like, you kind of need bad things to happen to become a more evolved, better person. Otherwise, you just
But people in the culture still suffer knockback and reverses, and their things don't grow in their garden the way they want it to.
doesn't seem to have much consequence for them. And
Can we continue? To offer a commentary from Ian Banks here, a drone carrying empty glasses passed by and muttered, "Gibbering Jabard" in English. I smiled and waggled my feet in the warm water. So, obviously Jabard's view is meant to be taken exactly as we've read it. Okay, so now it's subchapter 4.3, ablation. Now, what does ablation mean, Sheridan?
well, I've had an ablation. It's to remove the surface of something.
Well, it's the act of wearing away. Yeah. So things are being worn away. Smar's been down in Auckland, then Edinburgh. Lee's been trying to get permission to hang around on mountaintops where no one can see him. Everyone's worried he's going to be viewed as the abominable snowman.
That, by the way, I really liked, because I'm like, maybe it was just a nice little maybe our fantasy, maybe these fantasy creatures are just actually another alien race.
Visitors that didn't plan to get seen. Yeah. Yep. Okay, and then about the middle of June, the ship suddenly asked me to go to Oslo for the day. Linter had asked to see me. I feel Oslo doesn't live on the page here the way Paris did.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. But anyway, I didn't recognise them at first. I usually recognise people from the way they walk. And Linter's gait had altered. He looked thinner and more pale, not so physically imposing and immediate. Same suit as in Paris, though it looked baggier on him now, and slightly shabby. He stopped to meter away. What do you make of Linter in Oslo?
Well, I mean, his gait's changed because he's, I don't know,
turned into a human.
Holding in farts or something.
Well,
he's got guts now.
Yeah. I mean, it is this whole thing, though, that when you... And this is obviously a compressed timeline, but there's a lot in this of travelling around Europe, catching up with people, and as time goes on, we will become less than we were when we were 21.
Although he doesn't age very fast.
But he's sicker and thinner and...
yeah, because he's got guts.
Yeah.
And actually, I did think about this is when they were just, he's got guts now. I'm like, there is actually, I mean, they say it's his second brain. There is something very human about guts.
Well, I mean, look, culture people have guts, but he's got human guts now.
Yeah, but I mean, the culture seem to be able to control their shits and not go to the toilet. And it's that's barely guts. A culture person is never going to say, I'm upset in the guts today.
Well, unless they've chosen to try it being sick.
Why would you?
Which we did have in use of weapons. Remember, everyone chose to get the flu on the ship.
Oh, that's right, yeah. That's not the same as... No one chose to get diarrhoea.
Who would?
I think Linter's had diarrhoea and now he's just walking different because he's like, that could happen again.
So to get to that point, I've got highlighted here Smar saying, you're not looking too well. He didn't meet my gaze, but appeared to study some distant stonework work at the end of the walk. Well, no, I guess you could say, I've changed. He smiled uncertainly. I'm not the man I was. So he's being a bit of trying to be mysterious to get some attention, I really feel here. This whole thing of him wanting to see Smar is he wants her attention.
Isn't he trying to see her, though, to give her the transmitter and to communicate to the culture that he's really done? That's the motivation.
Yeah,
right?
But he's chosen Smar to be the one he talks to because he
trusts her, though.
Well, yeah, but he's remembering the night in Paris and hoping for a bit more romance, I think.
Well, I don't know if he can. He's got this diarrhoea problem now. And...
well, even men with diarrhoea dream of getting it on with.
Can I say one thing that was very disappointing in the narrative or description is the penis. What does it look like? We got a lot of. He said he didn't change his penis. because there's all
Well, you
different
wanted
signs.
the drawing, did you?
I wanted a
And
descriptor.
we've got the Ian Banks the drawings book
I
around here
don't
somewhere.
think there's a big.
Have you gone through and checked there's no
I
Linter's
should.
dick in it?
I should. I don't think there's Linter's dick in it, but I'm very curious.
So a line here. I asked the ship to alter me. He looked at me briefly. I inspected him. The slight stoop, the thinness and paler skin wouldn't have required the service of the ship. He saw me looking, shook his head. No, nothing outside. Inside. Oh, what? Well, I got it to give me a set of guts more like the locals, and I had the drug glands taken out, and he laughed nervously. The loop system in my balls. So this is the thing where a culture person can just keep spaffing away indefinitely.
Oh, yeah.
If that's of interest to them. And then, so I don't have any choice about going to the toilet every so often, and I had to work it work on my eyes too. He paused. Now it was my turn to look at my feet, clomping up the steps in my fancy Italian climbing boots. I didn't think I wanted to hear this. Sort of rewired, so I see like them. A bit fuzzier, sort of less, well, not fewer colours, but more sort of squashed up. Can't see it as much at night either. Same sort of things on my ears and nose, but, well, it almost enhances what you do experience, I'm so glad I had it done. This is like people who ride single-speed bicycles going like, oh, it's more realistic. It's a downgrade. And then my immune system isn't perfect anymore either. I can get colds and that sort of thing. I didn't get the shape of my dick altered. Decided it would pass. Did you know they already have considerable variations in genitalia here already? Which is a point that unless it's forking in two or covered in warts,
Covered in warts is, obviously no one wants it, but it is.
No, it still happens in humans,
Yeah.
yes. But my point is that within the basic cucumber-shaped parameters of a dick, we accept a lot of variation. No one's going to get too excited if they see one that's looking a bit different to the others. Just between circumcised and not circumcised, and there's
the whole bunch of.
Everyone here's seen a lot of dicks. We don't need to talk about it. And then the transgender thing, which I think let's.
I don't think it's transgender. You mean how they can switch sexes?
Genders, yes.
I don't know if I'd call that transgender though.
I think I just want to put a pin in this that it's here again because we're going to be talking about Elon Musk, who is a particular transphobe.
Yeah.
And a dominant theme of Banks's novels is that people change gender frequently.
Yes.
And that this is his view of this is what a really advanced society is like, where have some children as a man, have some children as a woman, experience life to its fullest in both genders. Anyway, so the line here that's leading to is, I can't change sex now if I wanted to. Things will still regrow if they get cut off. The ship couldn't alter that, not quickly. It'd take time, intensive care, and it would alter my clock speed. What do you call it? I'll still grow old slowly and live longer than them, but I think it might relent later when it knows I'm sincere. All I could think of was that by converting Linter's physiology to a design close to the planetary standard, the ship wanted to show the man what a nasty life they led. Perhaps it thought rubbing his nose in the human condition could send the man running back to the manifold delights of the ship, content with his cultural lot at last.
But it's done the opposite for him. He actually...
Well, hang on. It's the buyer's remorse thing. He's saying, oh, I really love it this way. When he might not actually be loving it, but once you've committed to something, it's like people who buy a dud car will try and make excuses for it.
But that's a very humanoid way of thinking about things, because culture people sort of don't, in some ways, have, I don't know if pride's the right word. They don't... I don't think that they would feel judged by reversing a decision.
Like if you were a culture person and you were like,
Oh, come on.
oh, I shouldn't have done that. I don't think that there's an element of judgment amongst them about what each other does, because that culture people are able to basically choose to do whatever they want. Whatever they want to do is not weird. They can change sex. They can have sex with whoever they want. They can run off and do anything, and there's no judgment about that.
Yeah.
So I don't think that can't be why the mind was allowed him to change.
No, hang on. The point is that Linter is saying to Smar how much he likes the changes because he doesn't want to admit that he might have made a terrible mistake. That's what the mind is trying to do and it's a different thing, is to expose them to, this is what it's going to be like once we leave. If I leave you here with this body, are you really sure this is what you want?
But I don't think the mind's doing it to be like, I don't think Linter would be ashamed to admit that he was wrong, because culture people don't care about.
No, but he has to realise he's wrong first, and that's a
so that's different. But I don't think it's a rub your nose in it and work out and get the buyer's remorse.
Well, I mean, Smar is suggesting that maybe that's what the ship's trying to do, but whether that's true, I mean,
maybe, I do agree that the ship is probably trying to make him go, this is shit.
Yeah.
But I don't think he would. I don't think there's an element of trying to shame him into realising that decision.
No. Well, the culture doesn't do shame.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's another line here where he says, "We're the ones who are different. We're the self-mutilated, the self-mutated." And skipping a bit, they're real because they live the way they have to. We aren't because we live the way we want to.
Yeah,
that's your callback to Lee's talking about too civilized, not civilized enough. Yeah.
Yeah, and also that they're real because they suffer, because they don't have choice.
What do you mean they?
The humanoids.
We, that's us.
Yeah, sorry. Correct. Sorry. It was just...
Look at you, Elon, living in the culture.
But that's what sort of makes you, I don't want to sort of put judgment on it, but better, because you don't have any choice. It's a better experience.
Ooh. It's a highly debatable concept. But the whole point of this is to debate this thing, so sure. Now, the language, we've already had the C-bomb in this episode, and I know we don't...
C-bomb?
Yeah.
I've never said the C-bomb.
I did.
When?
It was in the text.
Oh, sorry, I missed that.
And so I'm just quickly saying that we do put the not explicit tag in the show because the words we say we try to keep clean. But
I did say the F word though.
You might have.
That was me, not the text.
we try and keep it clean. Because I'm just about to use the F-bomb, but it is in the text and it is literature. And until someone tells us that we are being wrong and bad, we're just going to sit with this. Anyway, here's the line. This is the fucking mental home, the land of the midnight brain. This is the place that gave us mutually assured destruction. They've thrown people into boiling water to cure diseases. They've used electroconvulsive therapy. A nation with a law against cruel and unusual punishments electrocutes people to death. Go on, mention the death camps, Linter said, blinking at the blue distance.
I mean, this is where you do start to be like, yeah, actually, maybe we aren't better. But
I did some research for a little article I wrote on Medium last week, and the amount of money the US spent on nuclear weapons from 1945 to I think 1996 was $11 trillion.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Which did nothing good for anyone, you know. And that money could have given us the Arthur C. Clarke's world of tomorrow. Anyway. Another line here. The only way they can go and survive is the same way we've come. And you're saying that's all shit. That's refugee mentality. And they wouldn't thank you for what you're doing. They would say you're crazy.
Oh, I've got a question.
Okay.
So, and I just didn't look it up. Mm-hmm. So, has he moved house?
Well, he's moved to Oslo.
Oh, yes, of course. So, it's kind of interesting that in his old unit, I think from memory, he had like a lot of stuff. Like it was really lived in. And now he's in this bare bones
Minimalist
apartment just with Holbein paintings.
Yeah, we haven't got to the Holbein reference, but yep, okay.
So that's like the portrait artist, right?
Holbein was a Renaissance portrait artist, yeah.
Anyway, I thought that was strange.
Well,
like, was there any meaning in that?
I don't know enough art history to...
I should, given I've got a master's degree in it.
Yeah, okay, so the art history of Holbein...
I don't know, I didn't look it up. It's not my area.
One of the...
It's more focused on Australian art.
One of the most known portraits of Henry VIII was a Holbein, I believe. If I can continue...
Yes.
And this is turning into a long episode. I hope you folks are enjoying this one. Naturalness, I said loudly. This lot will tell you anything is natural. So that's a throwback to what we were talking about before. They'll tell you greed and hate and jealousy and paranoia and unthinking religious awe and fear of God and hating anybody who's another colour or thinks different is natural. Hating blacks or hating whites or hating women or hating men or hating gays, that's natural. Dog eat dog. Looking out for number one. No lame ducks. Shit, they're so convinced about what's natural, it's the more sophisticated ones that'll tell you suffering and evil are natural and necessary because otherwise you can't have pleasure and goodness. They'll tell you any one of their rotten, stupid systems is the natural and right one. The one true way. What's natural to them is whatever they can use to fight their own grimy corner and fuck everybody else. They're no more natural than us, that an amoeba is more natural than them just because it's cruder. Which I think is a rebuttal to the arguments you've been trying to make. Ian!
In what way?
For a start, we are seeing in the US right now and also in Russia, but because they're not English speakers, they're not really part of our cultural milieu the same way. Saying, suffering makes us better because it's just the only thing we've ever known. When too often suffering is just people being crappy to each other and getting away with it.
I guess so.
I guess from my point of view, as a journalist, I've been part of debates on voluntary assisted dying, and I've seen the Catholics come storming in saying, no, suffering is part of God's divine plan, and you must suffer every moment of your horrible illness until the moment you die, because God wants that.
Well, no, I'm not suggesting that, but...
Well, it is the logical extension of the argument, though.
Actually, maybe the piece that's missing in my argument is the culture. They think they have all this choice and freedom, but really the minds are just doing it all for them.
Yeah.
And that doesn't actually seem like a very appealing way to live either.
The minds aren't doing everything for them. The minds are only doing as much for them as they ask the minds to do.
But they're controlling them.
To what extent are we always controlled by the societies around us?
Well, I think I'd rather live in a society where human experience is controlling, and that human experience that's controlling us is often very, very unethical and cruel.
Hypocritical as well, but yeah.
It's all sorts of bad things. Mm-hmm. But that's better than having a computer control you.
Well, a mind isn't a computer. It is a consciousness of all its own. They are, as per the text, a genuine consciousness. They're not just an LLM.
Well, it actually just feels like the culture race is just, they're just like sort of robots that are being controlled by the minds.
But they're not, because, you know, I mean, the mind on the arbitrary doesn't want Linter to disappear. He wants to bring the same number of citizens back that it went out with. But he's asking that to, you know, be turned into something more like a human so he can stay. And it's being like, well, if that's what you want, we'll do it. So, I mean, there's no coercion or control going on there.
I just don't believe that the mines would not sacrifice a member of the culture if they wanted to. If they thought it wasn't in their interests. It's just that they're so unbelievably intellectual and can think like 7 steps ahead that they don't kind of need to do it because these stupid little minions aren't smart enough to outsmart them.
Look, I think to some extent we can only work on the book we've got right here in front of us, but I would also want to say that the next book, Accession, does actually deal with a lot of those themes.
See, this is where I'm at a disadvantage.
And I'm sorry about that. So moving on.
So actually, yeah. I'm sorry, and maybe you're about to get to this bit, but when Smar asks the ship why it altered Linter,
yeah,
it basically says, well, he's got the choice to do that.
Yeah.
Smar seems a bit suspect about it.
Yeah.
She doesn't seem entirely convinced.
She thinks it's manipulating it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that they know, she knows that it's not altruistic. The mines are only doing things to the extent that it benefits their agenda. And no one knows what that agenda is.
Well, but in this case, as per the text, the ship would like everyone that it dropped on the planet to pack back on the ship and bugger off, right? The ship's faced with a dude who wants to go native, and even though it's not in the ship's interest, it doesn't particularly want to, it's dealing with what is the best way to accommodate his wishes.
I don't think that's what their minds are doing, though. They're just saying, well, there's no real negative to our agenda in letting him do this, so we will let him do that.
But the only agenda they've got is the maximum benefit to all the living creatures in the
galaxy. No one knows
So.
what their agenda is, though.
Well, yeah, we do. It's in the books.
I don't think it's... You don't know if they're lying.
It's true. I don't know that they're lying, but I would say we are unpacking a lot of culture motivations in this novella, and that in the next book, Accession, it's mostly a study of inside the minds of the culture.
All right, well, guess I have to
which is the book,
read faster.
Which I might add, Accession is the book that Zanny Minton Beddoes said she was reading when she interviewed Elon Musk. Accession, there we go, the great white whale that awaits us. So Smar, moving on here, says, you're making a mistake, the biggest mistake you'll ever make in your life. You'd better realise you're on your own. Don't think a few plumbing changes and a new set of bowel bacteria are going to make you any closer to Homo sapiens either. And then moving a bit further on when she's in his flat noting these sketches by Holbein. It had clouded over in late morning. I left after lunch. I think he expected me to stay, but I only wanted to get back to the ship.
Yeah, well, I mean, she's just like, whatever.
Don't want to hang out with you, loser.
Yeah, fuck you shit.
Mm-hmm. Your shit stinks now.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're in 4.4. God told me to do it.
Are we?
Yeah.
Oh. Thought we were in more along.
We're getting there. And this is where Smar's arguing with the ship about what it's done to Linter and why it did it. The ship's saying, it did occur to me he might not enjoy the feeling of being something close to human basic. But I thought it was obvious from what he'd said when we were talking about it beforehand that he didn't expect to enjoy it. He knew it would be unpleasant, but he regarded it as a form of birth or rebirth. I thought it unlikely he would be so unprepared for the experience and so shocked by it that he would want to be returned to his Genefix norm, and even less likely that he would go on from there to abandoning his idea of staying on Earth altogether. Then the ship goes into being very disappointed with Dizzy Esmar for thinking it had ulterior and sinister motives.
I just don't trust them. They're sneaky.
Right, you think this is Hal, do you?
Yeah, I do.
I mean, from a culture point of view, they've been shepherding and looking after the human, the billions, trillions of human beings in their care for generations. But
yeah, I don't know. I think they're getting something from it.
Anyway, look, we're going to tackle these issues a lot more when we get to Accession, which isn't that far away. And a lot of what we're talking about is going to be dealt with in the Hydrogen Sonata, which is the last culture book that Banks wrote.
Well, we should get there in about 10 years, hey?
Well, we have had people asking if we're going to live long enough to get to surface detail, but
So I made the mistake today. I never read any comments on any of the social media, and I made the mistake of reading some today, and I feel very guilty. It might motivate me to read.
That was not my intent to upset you with that, Sharon. I didn't even know you'd see comments on the Culture by Ian Banks Facebook page.
Well, I don't know why. It just came up in my feed. It's actually ironic that my own podcast page never comes up in my social media feed. There's something wrong with the algorithm there, but it did today, and I was like, oh my God, I'm sorry.
That wasn't your podcast.
Oh, it was you know what? It's because I've recently joined the group.
Oh, you've joined the culture group.
Yes.
Oh, watch out for spoilers. Okay.
Well, actually, good point.
All right. So we have this line from the ship. What are we supposed to be about, Smar? What is the culture? What do we believe in? Even if it hardly ever is expressed. Even if we are embarrassed about talking about it. Surely in freedom more than anything else. A relativistic, changing sort of freedom, unbounded by laws or laid down moral codes, but in the end, just because it is so hard to pin down and express, a freedom of a far higher quality than anything to be found on any relevant scale on the planet beneath us at the moment. And moving on a bit there, we live with, use, simply get on with our freedom as much as the good people of Earth talk about it. And we talk about it as often as the genuine examples of this shy concept can be found down there. Skipping ahead a little bit more. I can only be sure in myself that I am in the right in trying to get Linter to come back if I'm positive that my own behaviour, as the most sophisticated entity involved, is beyond reproach, and in as close accord with the basic principles of our society as it is within my power to make it. And then a little skip further ahead, and this is Smar. Well, I said, I don't know. That sounds almost noble. I folded my arms. Only trouble is, Ship, I can never tell when you're on the level when you're talking just for the sake of it. The unit stayed where it was for a couple of seconds, then turned and glided off without saying another word. I mean, the ship's quite angry with your point of view right now, Sheridan. It's saying I've never done anything unethical, and
but it would say that. It would say that. It's very manipulative.
What has it done that's unethical? You can't point to anything it's done that's unethical.
No, but I just don't trust it.
Right.
It seems sus.
All right. Well, the ship is just walking away from you, saying, "I don't even want to talk to you, Sheridan." All right, we're coming down the home straight here now. 4.5, credibility problem. Now we get to the fun stuff. The next time I saw Lee, he was wearing a uniform just like Captain Kirk's in Star Trek. So there's...
Yeah, I mean, I know what that looks like.
Okay, so the point is that they're cosplaying now. Or Lee's cosplaying. You won't have heard, Lee said, sitting beside me. Having been on EVA, but I'm intending to become captain of this tub. So EVA is extravehicular activity in astronaut talk, not Star Trek talk, mind you. Yes, so Lee wants to be captain, and he makes uncompelling arguments for why he should be captain. Then we have Jarvan's trying to play pool. An argument, all right. You, anybody, taking command of the ship is like a flea taking control of a human. Maybe even like a bacteria in their saliva taking them over. So I just want to point out, I have a few times said that humans in the culture are like bacteria to the mines. And people have got quite upset about me saying that and said, I've never thought about it that way. I thought we had control. And even Elon Musk is like, oh, they'll be like Labradors. I was like, no, they're bacteria.
Well, I actually think that's what the culture humanoids are like to the mines.
Yes. That's my point.
Sorry, I thought you meant...
Yeah.
Sorry, whether you mean humans or culture humanoids.
Yeah. The humanoids.
That's what I was just saying before.
Yeah. But, we are quite insignificant and they keep us around because they think we're fun. Yeah. But I just want to point out for everyone who said I was being overly harsh that it's literally in the text here that we like bacteria. It's right here in the text. So I hope those who objected to that are listening. Anyway, moving on a bit. And anyway, we didn't make it. Sorry, this is talking about what is a mind. Anyway, we didn't make it. Other machines made it. And even they only started it off. It mostly made itself. But anyway, you'd have to go back, I don't know how many thousands of generations of its ancestors before you found the last computer or spaceship built directly by any of our ancestors. And saying, would you let an ant tell you what to do? Bacterium, flea, ant, make up your mind. And then the argument. And who started us? Some glop of goo on another rock ball, a supernova, the Big Bang. What's starting got to do with it? And then Lee finishing up. You wait, Lee said, standing up and wagging a finger at me. I'll be captain one day, and you'll be sorry. I had you down tentatively as science officer, but now you'll be lucky to make nurse in the sick bay. And
This guy is a douche.
Oh, yeah.
I'm surprised the culture lets him carry on like this.
Well, this is the point. They don't let him cause harm, and they're confident they can stop him causing harm. But then a very Scottish phrase here from Smar. Go away and piss on your dilithium crystals. So that's the end of that chapter, and we've been going a very long time.
Is it?
Next chapter is called "You Would If You Really Loved Me," but we'll get to that in due course. Sheridan, just to finish up on this chapter, only one ship, the Arbitrary. But favourite character?
The mind.
Okay, and why did the mind score that?
Sus.
You think it's sus?
Yeah. There's a phrase in Australia that's sus, C word, but I won't do it.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah. Okay. Now, what was the other thing you wanted to talk about other than Elon?
Sugar.
Yes.
So now everyone is, well, not everyone, but lots of people on the internet, well, I'm told from you, think that sugar
culture fans on the internet,
is a bit culture-y.
Yep.
I mean...
And to be honest, the first season of Sugar, you're just watching a hard-boiled detective story. There's a bit of why is he so good at fighting? And then there's the big reveal, oh, he's an alien. And then there's, some stuff about the aliens all arguing with each other and deciding they want to run away because their cover's blown. I don't agree that it's that culture coded.
No, me neither.
It's more alien intervention coded.
Yeah, I felt it was an interesting narrative device.
I mean, I want to see where the show goes with it because it spent so long just being a hard-boiled detective thriller.
Yeah, I felt the show was kind of interesting enough without it.
Yeah, and then it's like, oh no, they're aliens.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll see where it goes. It's not canonically a culture story. They're not paying royalties to the estate, as far as I'm aware. Look, I think Sugar's a fine show, and the idea of aliens on Earth is it's got some resonances with state of the art.
Yeah.
Now let's talk
about Elon.
Elon. So for those who haven't seen it yet, we would recommend you go watch it. Elon Musk's interview with The Economist with, I believe her name is Zanny Minton Meadows.
It's like a made-up name.
The editor-in-chief of The Economist, who, I mean, I've got to say, she came out of it looking incredibly intelligent.
Except for the bit thoughtful. Where she, talks about being essentially libertarian, but,
She's a classical liberal, was what was
she did say
the argument, which is The Economist is first and foremost a classically liberal in the economic sense of it publication. It was literally founded as the standard bearer of liberalism in the 1800s.
But for those who haven't watched it, Elon Musk essentially says AI in 5 years will be smarter than any human on the face of the earth, and AI combined with robots will essentially be doing everything that a human can do, which is very disturbing. And there comes a point in the interview where it comes up about what does that look like? And Elon Musk says the closest thing it looks like is the E&M Bank's culture books.
And they talk, the culture probably gets discussed for about 20 minutes of this 90-minute interview. It's no small part of it.
Well, I don't think it's 20 minutes.
And as the only ongoing podcast dedicated to
Very slow. It's only ongoing because I'm so slow.
yeah, but we do still have some space and agency to speak on this as the ongoing students of the culture in any sort of media space. And I know lots of other people reference the culture a lot and talk about maybe individual books, but we're the ones trudging through it chapter by chapter. I feel like we've got something to say. I mean, the first thing was Minton Beddoes very correctly called Elon up saying this is a book by a socialist. Or a straight out communist.
She said socialist, though. I think
she said socialist. And Musk just went, "Oh, you say that, but I don't think that's true." And that's just outright wrong. I mean, we literally, the last episode of this podcast, we had Smar as a very clear insert for Banks himself, saying, "I want to take this society and go full Trotskyite on it and paint it red in the communist sense." It is indubitable that Banks is a socialist perspective, and this is part of what makes the culture novels so great, in that it is instead of socialists being sad old people arguing with each other at points of order, it is an exciting, kinetic vision of what might be possible. But obviously it's space opera. It's full of things that might be possible but aren't real.
Well, maybe this is where Musk's view about the culture being accurate would completely depart from Ian M. Banks's view, because the culture is this utopian, everyone shares the wealth. Admittedly, I say it doesn't seem that pleasant, because I seem to have some innate thing that suffering and going through bad things is what makes us human. But, Banks sort of envisions this world where people can, be completely free to do what they want. They have all this choice. But what the difference with Musk's view is, he envisages this world of, he says the way we get there is through high universal income, but there's no way to get there under a capitalist.
What chilled me for this was, and again, I don't think I'd even enjoy having dinner with Minton Beddoes. I don't think I like her very much, but she was very good with holding his feet to the fire with the consequences of what he was talking about. And one of them was...
There's no way to get there under his...
But my point is that the way he was talking about the cuts he made to USAID, which have killed at least tens of thousands, probably hundreds of thousands, probably will kill millions. And he just dismissed it as rounding errors.
So you know what Elon is? Elon is the mines. That's where I'm like, the mines are evil.
No, Elon wants through the mines. There is another character who, if we get as far as surface detail, you will meet, who, if everyone who's read all the culture books is like, that's who Elon is. But it's not a mine. The mines are much more ethically decent than Elon Musk will ever be. But anyway, so...
I feel it's a little unfair because I can't comment on these characters.
Well,
I don't know, but that's fine.
But Musk, by dismissing the at least tens of thousands and almost certainly hundreds of thousands of people he personally killed by destroying USAID. Some people call it USAID. It just reads as USAID to me. And sure, he makes the whataboutism point, saying, "Oh, it was used by the CIA to do regime change and control governments." And it's like, so what? It was also delivering AIDS medicine to thousands of people who needed it, and food. And then it's like, well, Bill Gates could have stepped in, but he didn't, and Mackenzie
I think Elon thinks that all the billionaires are the mines.
No, he definitely thinks that, but he's wrong. But anyway, the interesting thing was he kept calling Mackenzie Bezos, and he refused to call her by name, which I believe is Mackenzie Scott. But it's my point remains that he is taking that huge megadeth event that he created and putting that off as a rounding error, and then saying, "Oh yeah, the route to AI dominance of the world, that's going to be a really bumpy road." And it's like, what, we're getting up to billions, 5 billion. Are you envisaging a world, Elon, where say 7 of the 8 billion people on this earth are gone in your bumpy road, and then everyone left is going to live in this high income utopia?
That is what it felt like a bit.
Yeah, it really felt like that. That was for me. That was the chilling part.
But maybe that's what the culture is, though, too. Like, there's just these sort of select humanoids that.
The culture is open to anyone who wants to join it.
No, but there was, and I just can't remember what book. Like, there's a distinction between those that are born into the culture.
Anyone who can reach the culture and ask to join is allowed to join, though. That is an intrinsic part of it.
I don't know about that. I don't like them. You might have picked that up.
It's your antagonist point of view.
I'm sus on them.
that keeps our punters coming. Anyway.
Also, I don't have the benefit of reading all the books.
No. Well,
so I feel like there's something sus about them.
Sure.
And they're going to, like, reveal themselves.
Yeah. Well, we're 75% of the way through this book, and then we tackle what might be the Mount Everest of the culture, which is Succession.
Oh God, how many pages is it?
It's big.
Oh Jesus.
and a lot of it is emails.
Emails?
Yeah.
They had emails?
Well, it's the minds sending emails to each other.
They never had emails in 1980.
Well, yeah, this was into the 90s when this is getting into the modern era when Banks was writing Succession.
So how many years did he take to write the books?
I
can't Google anything. I can't Google anything.
From the state of the art to accession, or at least from the end of use of weapons to accession, was quite a significant gap. Off the top of my head, without looking at it, I think it was about 6 years. And he wrote a bunch of different other, also excellent books in his literary fiction guides.
Which are the books that how I've read.
And then he came back with Accession, which we will talk about when we get to it. And then Accession has a extremely challenging structure. Accession was the book that Minton Meadows, when she was talking to Elon Musk, she said, "Well, I'm reading Accession right now." I would also say Minton Meadows' view, as she is one of the most empowered humans alive under capitalism, she felt humans didn't have a sufficient role in the culture. But I would argue that...
When did she say that?
When she said, I'm reading Accession, but when Musk was going on and on about how he thought the culture was a great template for the future, she said, well, I don't think humans are actually particularly well empowered. And then he said, well, Labradors are happy.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. But I think that 99.9% of humanity are not as empowered under capitalism as Minton Meadows is.
That's true.
And we might prefer a less stressful way of living our days than being the anyone who isn't the editor in chief of the Economist. And look.
Well, to be fair to her, she was, she wasn't. She was making that point that they're not. What she was saying then. Oh, no, edit that out.
The point, as I see it, is, look, you and me, and most people listening to this are incredibly privileged compared to most other people on this planet.
Correct.
She is much more privileged than we are.
Correct.
Lots of people are less privileged and would quite like to live in a more equal society where cruelty is less prevalent. Because let's remember that our lives, for all the disappointments and vicissitudes and hardships that we endure, is nothing compared to what most people on this planet actually live through every day. the culture's promise of those people having better lives, I think, is not to be discounted. Okay. Anything else we want to say about Elon Musk?
No. Scary.
Yep. I'll put a link to the interview in the show notes for anyone who hasn't seen it
I
yet.
was going to say, I don't know, they need our content. Maybe they could link us. That would be better.
That would be better, but I do think for anyone in the audience who hasn't seen it, the link will be there in the show notes.
It is worth
to have a look
watching.
at. It reminded me of nothing as much as what might have been if Adolf Hitler had been interviewed in English in the 1930s. It's
I don't know if I want to be associated with that when the singularity comes.
Well,
That's him. That's John. All hail.
Hail the basilisk. Look, honestly, it's clear the AIs have read Ian Banks, so I think being on his side is probably going to be helpful to us. But anyway, look, folks, we've been going. I'm going to have to do some editing. It's about an hour and 20 minutes, which is one of the longest ones we've ever done. So thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you, Sheridan, for sticking with this. Less of thank yous to the dogs being painful, but... Anyway, hopefully we will be back with Chapter 5 before too long, and then of course on to Accession. But okay, here we go. Thank you and good night.
Thanks, folks.